Hi there, this is Jacqueline with the Fable Tree, and this week we are going to be making a set of boho style milestone rounds. Now, if you've ever made milestone rounds in the past, you know that the worst part about them is that they take 5 hours to cut a whole set. And that is because they usually involve a lot of beautiful engraving. Well, we are not doing that at all because I hate that. So they're always beautiful, but 5 hours is ridiculous. So instead, we're going to do one with a simple scored background and cut out acrylic letters. I back my acrylic with 3M, so it's just peel and stick for assembly. And these come together really, really quickly. So start off with your ellipse tool. You may need to click and hold down on your rectangle tool. Click anywhere on your canvas, and I like a 4-inch circle for my milestone rounds because it maximizes your materials, but it doesn't overwhelm the little baby. It's a good size for even newborns. So you'll see that that your shape is made with a white fill. You're going to click here and come over to this white with a red slash to indicate none. That way it's an empty fill. All right. As you know, the Glowforge interprets any fill, including white, as an engraved section, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on, click View and turn on my grid, so Show Grid, and then View, Snap to Grid. Okay, so that gives us a 1-inch grid with smaller little 1/8-inch grid lines as well, and then you can use your arrow keys to just move it 1/8 of an inch at a time. And I like to have this activated right now because it helps us eyeball where to put our score lines without, having to guess. Okay, so I just used Command plus on a Mac or Control plus on a PC to zoom in so that we can kind of see things a little bit better. All right, click that selection tool and click off of your circle. Go ahead and choose a different stroke color. Make sure that you're choosing a stroke and not a fill color. I like green, just keeps me organized, but you can do whatever. And then click and hold on this ellipse tool and come down to your line segment tool. All right. Now you've got your snap to grid on, and that's fine for this. Okay. If you want to be, very precise with your angles, you can hold down Shift, and that keeps it, in 45-degree increments. So not so tricky for this this vertical line, but in just a minute we're going to be doing some 45-degree angles, and there your Shift key comes in clutch. I would recommend at this point go ahead and turn off your snap to grid because otherwise your 45-degree angle lines will go beyond your circle edge, and there's no need to waste materials like that. So I'm starting right here at the top. I'm going to Shift, click, and drag it to the left, and just wherever it intersects with the circle is fine with me. And let's just click off of here. We're going to use our select tool, click aside, and then you can zoom in, okay? And you'll see that my line did not come all the way to the edge. You want it to come all the way to the edge, all right? So do what you got to do to zoom way in. And again, Shift, click, and drag it. And it's okay if it overlaps it a little, but you want it to come absolutely to that center of your stroke, okay? Let's zoom back out, and we'll do the same thing. I'm going to do it in 1-inch increments. All right, so that's where our grid line is still super helpful. Okay, start right here, Shift, click, and drag out to the edge of the circle. And repeat. The reason I'm coming up to this select tool and clicking outside is that if you don't do that, it can sometimes be a little strange with your line segments. So let me just show you what I mean by that. So I have created a line segment, and if I wanted to come back and start right here, for example, and make another line segment, do you see how it just grabbed it and moved it? Okay, so just to get in the habit of clicking off of it and starting really from scratch with each click, I know it's annoying, but it saves irritation in the long run. So just zoom in a little and check your lines here. Make sure that they're all coming out as far as they need to. All right, this one's not quite there, I think, so it's better to change it now before you copy paste. Okay, and now you can click this first line, hold down Shift while you click the additional 3 lines. Don't click to select this center line because you don't want to repeat that one. And then you can copy, which is Command C on a Mac or Control C on a PC, and then paste, which is Command V. All right. Or of course you can always use the edit menu. And then if you have this little section over in your properties panel, you can just click it to flip horizontally. If you don't have that, come up to Object, Transform, Reflect, and I'll show you what it does. And you can choose whether to flip it over the horizontal or the vertical axis. All right. Then if you'd like, you can just drag it, or you can turn on that snap to grid again and just nudge it up using your arrow keys until it's in place. Okay. At this point, it makes sense to select all. So Command A or select all. Okay. And go to Object, Group. All right. And that way, this whole shape and all of the score lines will be treated as one unit. So you can just click and move it, and you don't have to move all of the little lines. All right. So at this point, we want to make your words. And we're even going to make it a little easier on you and add scored placement lines to your backing. And that way you're not trying to eyeball it later on, because if you're anything like me, you're terrible at that and maybe don't even know it. So let's go ahead, click our type tool, click here. I'm going to make this larger so we can see it very well, even when we're zoomed out. So I like an 80-point font when I am using Glamour Absolute. Now this is a really popular boho style font. If you don't own it already, it makes a lot of sense to just go ahead and buy it. And I like to buy it directly from the designer, Nikki Lotz. I'll put the link in the description, and it's cheaper to buy it there than it is on Creative Market or anything like that. Okay, so the reason that I like Glamour Absolute is that it is a lovely, easily readable font. This milestone set will be gender neutral, so it's not like super girly. And it has lots and lots of really well thought out glyphs. Okay, so that's why we're using it for this project. So I'm going to type 1 because the first milestone I'm going to make is a 1 month. And come on up to type glyphs. And that's how you access all of these little alternate characters that she has created. And they're beautiful. And she did a really good job with these. So I'm going to, you'll see that I'm clicked in here. We're in the type tool. We're not in select. We're in the type tool. I didn't mean to delete the O. And I'm deleting the N because I want to use this little dippy N. And you'll see that she's got different options. So if you prefer a different look, that's completely fine. But I like this. It's nice and simple. She does have an alternate glyph for the E as well, but I want to caution you against getting too glyph happy. All right. It can be a lot of look if you use everything that she has available. All right. So I encourage you to pick and choose and, not be too over the top with it. So I'm going to do the dippy M here and then the N as well. And I'm not going to use her beautiful T options or her beautiful H options. Part of the reason for that is that I want to have consistency from milestone marker to milestone marker. And I know the rest of them are going to have an S, and I really like her glyph S. All right. So play around with this, make your decisions. You can choose to use different ones than I did. That's completely fine. Just find something that you really like. And then you'll want to arrange your letters carefully. Okay. Once you've settled on your glyphs, you can go ahead and right click, create outlines. Sometimes, depending on what glyphs you're using, you may need to do this Pathfinder Unite so that you don't have overlapping bits. All right. And just go ahead and do that here as well. And I like to, at this point, be keeping them separate so that you can arrange them, in relation to one another. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of them and use this Align Horizontal Align Center tool. If you don't have an Align panel in your Properties panel over here, come up to Object, Align, Horizontal Align Center, and it'll do the same thing. Okay. And I'm going to just scooch this up a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with that. Once you're happy with that, you can, if you wish, Pathfinder Unite it so it's all one thing. Okay. Now, I am actually going to use a different document to hold all of my words because I'm cutting it out of a different material. If you're cutting it all out of the same material, don't bother. But I'm going to go ahead and copy, File New, Paste, and you need to go ahead and switch your fill and your stroke so that it'll cut out, right? Over here, we want to keep this. The reason that we copied it instead of just kind of moving it over is that we're going to use this also. All right. You have this backing all grouped together, so it's all one thing. You have this grouped together, so it's all one thing. right? And you want to select both of these and use your align tools to center the words on the milestone backing. All right. And so you saw that I did the horizontal align center and the vertical align center. Again, you can come up to object align and do it there instead. All right. And once you've got it there, you're not done, right? Because if you did it just like this, that would engrave, and we do not want to spend that amount of time on these. All right. So you want to select your words, come up to object, path, offset paths. Okay, obviously we don't want that offset, that's gigantic. So we're going to do a negative 0.04. That's my usual go-to just to start off with, and it looks like it'll work fine here. Click OK and don't click anything else yet, all right? Because what we're going to do is go ahead and change it to a green stroke instead of all of this right now. Okay, so come up and you can just follow my order if you'd like. So change your fill to green, then swap your fill and stroke so that you have an empty fill and a green stroke. Trust me on this one. Command C to copy or Control C on a PC and then delete that. I know that sounds strange, but bear with me. It just saves you several steps later on. Click this backing, this 1 month group of letters, and delete that also. And then go to Edit, Paste in Place. And now you have your score lines back, and you didn't have to ungroup everything and individually select the filled letters one by one to delete them. That's also an option if you'd rather do that. That's fine. But here's a different method. Now, you don't want to group this yet because you want to go ahead and just copy paste that backing. All right. And now if you want, you can select these and object, group, and then your 1 month. This is your 1 month backing, and you have scored placement lines so that you know it will be centered. We did that offset, that negative offset, so that these scored placement lines will not show once you glue down the letters on top of it. Okay, if you forget that step or you skip that step, your laser will remove a little bit of material as it cuts those letters out, and it'll actually sit kind of just inside your score line. So make sure that you take that step of doing that negative offset. All right, one of those things that's a little irritating to have to do, but really, really is important. So at this point, you will repeat this process for all of the other ones. So 1 month through 1 year. I typically do 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and so on. And then I don't do 12 months. I do 1 year, or I do it's my birthday, or something along those lines. And you'll find that you can fit about 8 of these on one sheet. And so then when you do your next sheet of backings, you'll only use 4 of those. And so you can do 4 bonus fun ones if you want to. So I like to do maybe for a gender neutral one, you could put like it's a boy and it's a girl, or you could do we're expecting, or you could do rainbow baby on the way, or you could do whatever. You could even include a blank one for them and let them know, what font you used, and then they could do a name announcement. You could do a year, you could do whatever, right? You could do welcome to the world. That one's a super cute one for a fresh new baby that, isn't even 1 month old yet. So you have lots of options here. And I encourage you to kind of play around, see, or ask your customers what do they like, and have some fun with it. Over here with your letters. All right. So once you have your 1 month letters and your 2 month and so on and so forth, all of them that you've got, you can actually save some material by moving these around. You don't have to do this. This is an optional step, but acrylic is expensive. And so I would go up to Object, Ungroup. Now this is going to treat each of your little letters, and even if you have eyes, it'll treat the eye dots separately, so keep that in mind. And then you can move these around and just snug them up. There are even softwares you can use. Deep Nest is one of them that will nest your letters as snugly as possible and maximize your materials if you want to. All right. So optional step there, but one that can be pretty nice. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. If you want to learn how to design files, there is information linked in the description about FileMakers Academy, which is my 5-week course where I walk you step by step from the very simplest files up to pretty complex ones. So you'll definitely be a design expert if you work through each of the projects in the course. And if you have questions about that, you can also leave those in the comments. All right, see you next week.